In just 5 years, the ride-sharing business Uber has become a serious threat to the survival of the taxi industry across the globe. One of its smartphone services, UberX, links people needing a lift with private drivers who can get them to wherever they want to go. Enthusiasts will tell you that it's cheaper, safer and more reliable than traditional taxis, but there's just one problem. UberX is operating illegally. Transport inspectors have been going undercover to catch and fine drivers. But emails obtained by 7:30 reveal that Uber's going to extraordinary lengths to avoid detection, and regulators believe they're losing the battle. David Lewis has this exclusive report.
How the Uber system works. The Uber system allows riders to request drivers at any time, in any city where Uber has launched.
This is the game-changing transport service taking a huge bite out of the taxi industry's profits.
Around the world, Uber has caused enormous disruption. That's the way Uber play the game.
Using your mobile phone, you can now request a ride with an Uber driver in more than 250 cities across the globe. The company keeps the credit card details of its passengers on file, so no cash ever changes hands.
It's the safest, most reliable, most convenient way to get from A to B.
But regulators here in Australia say Uber is trying to run a taxi service without a proper licence. The company's discount arm, UberX, is unregulated and effectively illegal in Victoria, New South Wales, Western Australia and Queensland.
G'day, Deborah.
Yes, David, how are you?
Yeah, well, thanks yourself.
Good.
But the ban hasn't stopped drivers like Deborah Walsh from accepting passengers, even though she risks a $1,700 fine.
Well, what's Uber said to drivers about whether you can continue operating or not?
Well, they've told us to keep operating, that if we do get fined, that they are covering our fines at the moment.
Uber has been forced to pay more than $250,000 worth of fines in Queensland alone. But with the financial backing of Google and investment banking giant Goldman Sachs, the company can easily afford to break the law.
That's a significant fine for an individual. When Uber's paying for them, it doesn't matter, it's petty cash to Uber.
City Cabs, can I start with your phone number, please?
This is from our people on the ground in the city and the valley, identifying Uber drivers because our drivers see that as someone taking money from them.
John Ty is the general manager of Black and White Cabs in Brisbane. He's losing both customers and drivers to Uber, so now he's dobbing the company in to Queensland authorities.
We're recording the day and date of the what we call the offence, the Uber sighting, the time that it happened, the location, whatever street it was.
But emails obtained by 7:30 through a right to information request showed the intelligence he's passed on to Queensland's Department of Transport and Main Roads has been completely ignored.
They are not doing anything with the lists of suspect vehicles provided by John Ty or Bill Parker, despite assurances I'd thought that these drivers were at least getting warning letters.
We've provided that information with the very best of intent, so it's disappointing when you see not much happening. It's frustrating.
The Queensland government insists it is taking action, ordering transport inspectors to go undercover as Uber passengers in order to catch drivers. But internal emails reveal Uber is outsmarting the inspectors by tracking their mobile phone numbers and blocking them from using the Uber app.
No covert activity was done today. Uber locked third phone due to penalty infringement notices being issued yesterday. Time was spent purchasing new credit cards, activating Gmail accounts and setting up 2 more phones. These phones are the last ones. We'll be ordering additional units.
But within a month, nearly all of the department's replacement phones had also been blocked.
Another phone has been blocked by Uber today. 1 phone currently in service, more phones are now on order.
When the department asked Uber why it had blocked the phones, the company cited suspicious activity.
I can see that our system has picked up unusual activity linked to this account. It's currently under investigation and will remain banned until we get to the bottom of it.
Again, staff at the Transport Department are now privately admitting they're losing.
Do we get a sense from the word on the street that the action we are currently undertaking is having an effect?
No, there doesn't appear to be a shortage of drivers available when we request one. It also appears that Uber business is still expanding.
How long is Transport and Main Roads prepared to continue to throw resources at just this activity?
But the Queensland Transport Minister Scott Emerson says the government won't be changing its approach.
Look, I'm determined to ensure that we enforce the regulations we have in place. Those regulations are there to protect the safety of passengers.
Inside Uber's Brisbane headquarters, nobody seems worried about attempts by regulators to shut them down. But spokesman Mike Abbott says Uber ultimately does want to be regulated and is negotiating with state governments.
We are calling for them to remove the ambiguity and to put in place sensible, safety-based legislation for ride sharing, which is pro-consumer and is not about protecting incumbents from competition.
The former head of Australia's consumer watchdog, Graham Samuel, now the Victorian Taxi Commissioner, says banning Uber simply won't work.
The approach being taken by some governments to penalise Uber drivers and to penalise Uber itself, I think I have to say to you, is doomed to fail. And the reason it's doomed to fail is not because of the might and substance of Uber and those backing Uber. It's rather the might and substance of the public.
He says Uber drivers should undergo the same criminal and health checks as taxi drivers to ensure passengers are safe.
The other approach is to say, can we legalise the Uber service in a way that is appropriate for government requirement that the service be provided as a safe service for the public, and at the same time, and this is important, to treat those who are in the taxi industry and the hire car industry on a fair basis.